Hey guys, Lukey here, coach of the Olivine City Beacons, and this is my week one review of DPDL super low tier. My opponent this week is Kashmir 2000 and the Baleful Bloomington Bannettes. Looking at his team, once again I'm up against my nemesis from last season, Aromatis, and also Executor Alola and Probopass mons that I struggled against. Looking at his team, I'm fairly well covered for his two big offensive threats, which is Sock and Drifblim. I've got things that can outrun it. And also, Wigglytuff's a fairly hard counter. The trick is trying to break Aromatis, and Probopass being another big issue. And I did a couple of things wrong off the bat. As we'll get to the replay here and you can see the teams. First off, I think I tried to get a little too cute with some of the sets I brought. You'll see them both fairly early on. But also, I didn't realize that Magnet Pull was legal, and so Probopass becomes the biggest threat to the team. And knowing that, bringing a physical Ludicolo, not a good idea. So anyway, let's get to the match. My game plan going in was to break and wear things down with Mawile and Braviary. Braviary, well, you'll see what I did to mess up here. And just sort of, sponge hits, wear down his team, and then finish things off either with Ampharos, which is Blunder Policy Zap Cannon, which is really fun, or my physical Rain Ludicolo. But it turns out my opponent perfectly prepared for this. So let's get to turn one. And I look at Braviary's moveset and I realize I did not put U-turn on this thing. This thing was Scarf. I wanted to U-turn and just sort of wear things down, scout around. Not a great way to start the season, guys. That sloppy prep. Always make sure you check your sets. But Mr. Rhyme, what am I going to do about him? Well, I hard switch into Wigglytuff as he hard switches into Marini, which is interesting. Marini is a bit of a problem for this team. So here, I think, well, the one Pokemon that I have that Marini is not a problem with is Ampharos. And let's just play really aggressively here. So it sets up T-Spikes, brings in Aromatisse. I get the Zap Cannon turn one. And normally that's great. But here's the thing. With Protect or, whatever else, Ampharos doesn't quite KO from this range with Thunderbolt. So I am risking a second Zap Cannon. And you'll see I risk it. And the match didn't hinge on that because there's a lot of other opportunities for me to get back into it, and my opponent, just drastically outplays me from here on in. But basically, Zap Cannon misses. I get the Blunder Policy boost, but I'm still in the predicament of I've got to hit 2 Zap Cannons to kill this thing. So I go for the Thunderbolt. I'm super fast, but what does it matter? Aromatisse does not care. I basically have to hope that it gets paralyzed. But it has aromatherapy. It's extremely passive, and that was the problem. I could see what its moveset was, but I didn't have any way to break through it. So here I am. Ampharos is not making any progress. I bring in Mawile, and I'm far too reckless with it because at this point I think, okay, great, this is my opportunity. I know I outspeed. I can go for a Swords Dance and try to break something. But Probopass comes in. I actually went for the knockoff. Well, in any case, I guess the thinking there is get rid of the leftovers, chip something down a little bit. But what does it matter? Mawile is now trapped and a sitting duck. And so, it didn't matter. Ironhead wasn't going to make a difference anyway. So this is already, panic mode for me because Mawile is the linchpin of my team. It's so useful to check Sock. It could take out Mr. Rhyme if I'm lucky, and Aromatisse is sort of the big threat, and now all of a sudden, looking at my team, I've got absolutely nothing to rip through it, or at least nothing that wants to try and deal with it. So he comes in. Again, Claydol, frustrating start for Claydol, and you can see why it got bumped down points, because it's so passive. And here I go to Wigglytuff, and it's like, all right, let me just try and poison something and chip it down. Wigglytuff is really my only answer, but this is, again, credit to my opponent here. This is a great use of Mr. Rime. He comes in to spin, and at this point, I still think that it's going to be, some kind of support set or maybe a wall breaker, but it's rapid spin, so +1 speed, which patches up Mr. Rime's biggest weakness, and then nasty plot. So I'm like, oh shit, because I was predicting it to switch out here. It's so there you go. I used a wish that didn't need to be made. He's at +2 and +1 speed, and Psyshock is just going to run through my team. So I'm trying to just stall out the toxic turns. The critical hit didn't really matter because Freeze Dry is still going to 2-hit KO, but it means that the next hit is going to take out Mr. Rime. So at this point, the game's already over. My defensive core is already destroyed, and it's all a matter of, can I get lucky? And Ludicolo here, I try and bluff. That I'm special still. Although I think Marini also just hard walls special Ludicolo. So he goes for the cover. His plan was clearly just to stall me out. And here I had to double check that Zap Cannon does not in fact interact with rain. It's still 50%. It's only Thunder that gets the boost in rain. I managed to hit one Zap Cannon, but it's already well too late. He's got the wish pattern going on. I go to Braviary. Again, turns out he was ready for this thing. He had Rock Gem, which meant that close combat or Power Gem, which meant that close combat was not going to be able to take this thing out. And so Braviary, you get rocks up. I have no way to get rid of hazards. At this point, he's just playing with his food. My team is broken, and it's just a matter of whether or not I'm going to get another KO, and the answer is I'm not. Here I decide, you know what, I risk it. Focus Blast. Thunderbolt was not going to KO from that range. It just didn't matter at this point. Marini comes back out. I try and take some hits. Braviary, can he do anything? Well, Dual Wing Beat does not a whole lot. He switches out for the differential. Because I'm scarfed, I'm locked into Dual Wing Beat, and Probopass proving once again, it was on the champs team last season, and this thing is an absolute threat. Everybody's been sleeping on it. I thought about drafting it, but I had Mawile, which is similar, but look at me, week 1, traps Mawile, takes me out, and then at this point, he just cleans me up. Driftblend comes in, Acrobatics, Ludicolo, and it's a 5-0 to start. So the best laid plans, guys. I thought I'd put a ton of work into a cohesive draft plan, but week 1, try to bring some things that are maybe just a little too off kilter and get punished for it. My opponent played great, prepped great. He had 2 things that my team really, really hated. And I got absolutely punished for it. What could I have done differently? I think my only bring against Mr. Rime would be Rapidash. Was I think the only thing that could have come in and done anything, but at +1 speed, it was still going to kill a bunch of things. Maybe Duosion, but it just shows that Mr. Rime an absolute threat. So back to the drawing board. One thing about this week is I definitely brought, sort of the secondary players on my team other than, I would say, Mawile. and Claydol, my top 4 picks, 3 of them didn't come. Not that they're necessarily going to come next week, but I definitely, looking at my team, I think I have to get back to what the core strengths of the team are and sort of what my plans were when drafting them. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. If you like this, leave a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to keep watching. If you're my future opponents, you're probably getting all my playbook out of this. So hope you're enjoying these videos, and best of luck to Kashmir, because you turned what looked like a tricky matchup into an absolute runaway game. So anyway, we'll see you guys next week for the next video. Bye.